Welcome back. Today, we present breaking news from the Texas-Mexico border, where severe flooding's aftermath clashes with a shocking crisis. Earlier today, the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol declared an immediate closure of part of the Texas border, a move so sudden that it captured national attention. This action was not in response to a migration surge or a political strategy. Rather, it stemmed from an astonishing discovery that federal officials deemed a top-level national security threat. The incident unfolded during a routine inspection near a lesser-known section of the Rio Grande, a region frequently watched for smuggling activity. Border Patrol agents, searching the dry terrain for concealed paths, discovered what seemed to be a collapsed tunnel. At first glance, it appeared to be an ordinary passage used for contraband. However, what they found next shocked all expectations and posed a serious challenge to U.S. border security. Beneath the surface lay an extensive, intricate tunnel network, well-engineered, ventilated, and electrically equipped, extending miles under the Texas-Mexico border. This was more than just a typical smuggling route. Its complexity rivaled military infrastructure and featured multiple chambers, surveillance points, and signs of long-term strategic use. Authorities swiftly sealed off the area and called in teams from the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Army Corps of Engineers to evaluate the situation. Initial investigations unveiled tunnels equipped with advanced computer systems, satellite communications, and encrypted networks. Other chambers contained operational markings, documents, coded symbols, and maps, suggesting years of careful planning and teamwork. Preliminary assessments indicated that this network likely evaded detection for over a decade, operating quietly while border security measures focused on surface threats. The decision to shut down the border was not taken lightly. Intelligence noted that the tunnels served purposes beyond drug or human trafficking. They hinted at paramilitary operations. Weapons caches, militia-style gear, and encrypted communications indicated a level of organization that surpassed typical criminal activities. This discovery transformed a regional border concern into a pressing national security crisis. Federal agents expanded the lockdown perimeter, deploying military units for security and drones to survey for any unusual activity. In towns such as Eagle Pass and Del Rio, residents were greeted by a surreal sight. Armored vehicles on the highways, helicopters overhead, and border crossings came to a standstill. The atmosphere was charged with tension. For communities familiar with occasional smuggling alerts, this felt different, more grave and undeniably serious. Rumors spread swiftly, fueled by the secrecy surrounding the operation, with speculation ranging from terrorist plots to the potential presence of nuclear materials, none of which had been confirmed. As investigators analyzed the construction methods, it became clear this was no simple cartel operation. The tunnels showcased precision engineering, soil reinforcement, sound dampening, and advanced electrical and ventilation systems, pointing to external technical expertise, possibly even state-sponsored involvement. Analysts began tracing procurement paths for specialized materials and combing through satellite images to estimate when the networks were built. Their findings heightened concerns, suggesting potential involvement of foreign operatives. Among the most alarming findings were biometric scanning logs situated at tunnel checkpoints. Facial recognition technology seemed to monitor every movement, raising two crucial questions: who used these tunnels, and what data had been gathered? Digital records indicated encrypted logs referencing infiltration operations, asset transfers, and coordination nodes, with entries spanning over a decade. Cybersecurity teams commenced decrypting hard drives, uncovering patterns reflecting a level of foresight and organization previously unseen in domestic border operations. In Washington, national security advisors convened urgently. This discovery prompted difficult inquiries. If this network existed in Texas, could similar tunnels lie beneath Arizona, New Mexico, or California? Had sleeper agents utilized these underground routes for years? The president received secure briefings, leading to a temporary state of emergency in the affected region. Homeland Security increased the national threat level and quietly coordinated with allied agencies to assess whether similar subterranean networks had been uncovered elsewhere. The revelation that a vast, sophisticated operation had gone undetected in one of the most surveilled nations raised serious questions within the intelligence community. The social and economic repercussions of the shutdown began to emerge immediately. Commercial traffic halted, trade routes were disrupted, and supply chains strained under the sudden halt. Thousands of daily commuters found themselves stuck. Businesses on either side closed, farmers could not transport produce, and long rows of trucks filled the highways. Border towns, heavily dependent on cross-border trade, faced economic paralysis, while fear and uncertainty grew among residents. Lawmakers demanded answers, holding congressional hearings in which top intelligence and defense officials were called to address the breach. Partisan tensions escalated, with some blaming the administration for negligence and others pointing to systemic weaknesses in border policy. However, for the public, the political debate was overshadowed by the stark reality: a massive, covert infrastructure had remained undetected beneath American soil for years. Billions spent on walls, drones, and patrol units had failed to reveal a threat operating below. The human aspect added another layer of complexity. Evidence indicated that dozens, perhaps even hundreds, of individuals had. Locals began reporting strange occurrences almost immediately. Faint vibrations underfoot, unusual sounds echoing from beneath the ground, and sightings of unfamiliar individuals moving through secluded areas fueled unease across southern Texas. While many of these accounts turned out to be false alarms, authorities treated every tip with the utmost seriousness. Law enforcement collaborated closely with utility companies, examining ground-penetrating radar from ongoing construction projects, searching for anomalies that might signal other hidden tunnels. The sense of safety that many Texans had once clung to, even amid ongoing border tensions, was rapidly eroding. It was replaced by a creeping realization: something highly organized and potentially dangerous had been operating out of sight, beneath the very soil they walked on. The political consequences of the discovery began to take shape almost immediately. Discussions about border walls and surface-level surveillance now included deeper questions. What else might lie beneath them? Legislative proposals shifted, emphasizing investments in underground detection technologies, seismic monitoring, and AI-assisted mapping systems. For border security, the conversation had moved beyond optics, rallies, and political showmanship. The new challenge was hidden, subterranean, and systematic. Analysts advocated for international collaboration with Mexico, not just to combat cross-border crime, but to conduct joint inspections, underground surveys, and intelligence exchanges. The Texas border shutdown was no longer a temporary measure. It was a stark recalibration of how Americans understood sovereignty, security, and the limits of their own defenses. Even weeks into the investigation, officials admitted they had only begun to map the tunnel network. Limited, tightly controlled crossings remained for essential trade and personnel, while construction teams worked in secrecy, pouring concrete into discovered shafts and scanning relentlessly for additional entrances. The operation could take months, perhaps longer, to fully neutralize. Meanwhile, the psychological impact spread nationwide. Americans, accustomed to threats being distant, virtual, or abstract, now faced a tangible, physical form of infiltration, one that literally moved beneath their feet. It was not a data breach or a cyber attack, but an invasion of the ground itself. As investigators probed deeper, the scale of the underground network revealed itself to be even more disturbing. Initial scans, once thought to cover a localized tunnel, uncovered evidence of a sprawling, multi-tiered system stretching across southern Texas and possibly into other regions. Seismic surveys and magnetic resonance imaging revealed dozens of offshoot tunnels, hidden caverns, and bypass systems, some running beneath highways, utility lines, and even government buildings. The network was no longer a mere passageway, it had evolved into a self-sustaining underground ecosystem. Water lines were tapped covertly, electricity siphoned from municipal grids through cleverly disguised transformers, and cell signals rerouted via custom-built antennas, ensuring secure communication entirely shielded from surface detection. Every detail pointed to careful planning and long-term strategy, not improvisation. Federal agencies began developing psychological profiles of those capable of masterminding such a network. The theory of simple cartel involvement waned in favor of a more unsettling possibility: a hybrid operation. Intelligence suggested a shadow coalition where criminal syndicates, extremist groups, and possibly rogue private military contractors collaborated, pooling logistics, engineering skills, and tactical expertise. This was a network that had existed beyond oversight, invisible to drones, irrelevant to walls, and impervious to traditional patrols. Its corridors were acoustically insulated, its ventilation shafts disguised as natural runoff, its existence entirely underground. The builders had created a shadow world beneath American defenses. Forensic teams catalogued findings in chambers that seemed almost purpose-built for long-term occupation. One room, in particular, contained hundreds of maps, topographic renderings, city blueprints, power grid schematics, and water main layouts, all annotated with coded shorthand. Decrypted, the notes revealed detailed surveillance of critical U.S. installations, military bases, airports, technology hubs, and water treatment facilities, targets capable of paralyzing civilian life if disrupted. Nearby chambers contained scaled mock-ups of these facilities, likely used to rehearse infiltration or sabotage scenarios. Linguistic and cryptographic experts analyzed tunnel markings and documents, uncovering inscriptions in Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin, and English. Some aligned with known cartel symbols, while others bore hallmarks of foreign intelligence networks. This discovery lent disturbing credibility to long-held suspicions that foreign actors had cultivated proxy operations along the U.S.-Mexico border. What had once been a border enforcement issue had now evolved into a covert battlefield lying literally beneath American citizens. Operational costs escalated rapidly. Billions were allocated to fund geotechnical surveys, hire underground warfare specialists, and deploy mobile command centers. Entire agencies were restructured to prioritize subterranean surveillance and response, while universities received emergency grants to develop AI-assisted radar capable of detecting hidden networks. In nearby towns, residents formed community patrols, watching for signs of unusual terrain activity. Urban legends spread quickly: mechanical sounds beneath homes, shadowy figures in woods, while leaks of images and equipment circulated on social media, feeding speculation and panic. Experts warned that if one tunnel, it was a weapon of design, not just architecture. Logistical teams discovered yet another layer of sophistication. Hidden beneath false floors were crates of high-end materials, fiber optics, encryption devices, reinforced steel, and long-lasting food supplies. Many were traced to legitimate U.S. suppliers, acquired under false identities or stolen. Investigators soon uncovered shell companies and offshore accounts spanning the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. Money laundering was just one part of a far larger, calculated effort. As the border shutdown stretched into its second month, the national dialogue shifted. This was no longer just about immigration or border security. Think tanks studied non-traditional warfare, and city planners questioned the vulnerabilities beneath major U.S. infrastructure. If Texas could conceal such a network, what might lie under New York's subway system, Los Angeles's aqueducts, or the deserts along Interstate 10? The psychological impact spread nationwide. forcing Americans to confront a threat that existed unseen beneath their feet. Congress responded swiftly, allocating billions for subterranean defense initiatives. Military bases ran underground conflict drills, municipal workers were trained to detect soil anomalies, and technology firms raced to develop faster underground detection methods. Schools incorporated subterranean safety drills. The question, "What lies beneath?" became a rallying cry. This was not a one-time threat, it was the opening of a new era of unconventional warfare. Internationally, reactions were mixed. Some nations quietly commended the U.S. Others worried about their own vulnerabilities. Mexican authorities, initially embarrassed, began discovering smaller tunnels along their northern border. Engineering analysis revealed tunnels reinforced to withstand demolition, making safe dismantling a challenge. Specialized robotics units were deployed, but progress remained slow. Counterintelligence investigations suggested that bureaucratic inertia and fragmented interagency communication had allowed the network to grow undetected. Contractors had overlooked suspicious soil patterns, and artificially cooled layers above key tunnels indicated sophisticated knowledge of surveillance technologies. Tunnel expansions often coincided with national distractions, natural disasters, political scandals, protests, allowing the network to grow unnoticed. Environmental risks soon emerged. Some tunnels ran dangerously close to groundwater reserves, including the Ogallala Aquifer. Contamination could devastate drinking water and agriculture. Emergency monitoring protocols were activated across hundreds of miles, turning the tunnel network from a security threat into a potential ecological disaster. Sociologists studied the human element. Dormitory areas, carefully arranged living quarters, and a strict chain of command suggested a highly organized hierarchy. Yet some sections revealed panic, abandoned equipment, and expired rations, showing human vulnerability alongside ambition. The network's planners had prepared for isolation and exposure, blending foresight with fear. The media pushed for transparency. Independent journalists and former intelligence operatives investigated. Public outrage grew, not against border security, but against institutional blind spots. One question echoed nationwide. How could such a sophisticated operation have remained hidden on U.S. soil? The Texas border shutdown became a symbol and a wake-up call. It challenged assumptions about surveillance, infrastructure, and national security. Some threats are not visible, not online, and not easily traced. They exist quietly beneath the surface, patient and persistent, waiting for the right moment to emerge. If you found this story compelling, give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think will happen next? We want to hear from you.